Hello, friends. Welcome. Sail Happy Home. I'm happy to be here with you today. I'm trying all these features on my phone for these videos because the lighting throughout my house is absolutely the most video unfriendly lighting in the frickin' world. So half my face is out of the light and the other half is in the light. Ugh, it's ridiculous. But I'm not here about that. I want to talk to you about, well, let's just start by saying that Rachel Maddow is a simpleton. And here's why. Our entire existence here on Earth is based wholly on the barter system and how it functions in our lives and how it has functioned in our lives since our very existence. Before there were monetary systems or cultures that didn't have a monetary system for whatever reason, they had something called barter system. And what that is you have a community of people, and one of these people is really, really good at hunting, and that person gets to go out and hunt for the entire community. And then there may be someone who plants crops and can grow crops really well, so that's what they're going to do for the entire community. Someone else is good at making clothing or blankets or different things, so they're going to be assigned to that. And all of this evolved into what we have today. We have local businesses. They have a specific purpose in their communities. For example, a bistro. They provide coffee and food, cafes, restaurants. They provide food and sustenance for that community. And there might be a little clothing store in there. They provide, clothing. There might be an electronic shop or a hardware store, and you get the gist. And where the barter system comes into place in these areas is that this dairy farmer has the cows to produce the milk, but the factory in the county down the road, that's where he's got to sell the milk to so that they can make the milk and they can make their money. They come together, they work a partnership. Somebody has chickens, they provide their community with eggs. You get the gist. Now, when you put that to a national scale, California, they are great at producing almonds and avocados and simpletons. But here in Minnesota, we don't really have the ability to do that with our seasonal weather. So we, have other things. I'm not exactly sure what they are at this point, but we have other things that we can ship to and trade with California so that we get avocados and almonds here from California. Now, when you apply that to a global set, now we get into things like rare earth minerals, oil, and oil and gas, whether you like it or not, it's needed for just about every friggin' thing in the world. It even makes the plastic bottles. That crude oil in the ground actually contributes to making the plastic bottles that contains that highly overpriced water that you buy in little plastic bottles. So those two things are vital, like life and death vital for the world. And other things. In South America, the nation of Chile is known for extraordinary produce. So they're very tiny and they produce less than what a giant nation could, but they export that out, and then they trade. And that's where the trade comes in. We trade with other nations for many different things, and they have the ability to manufacture or grow or generate certain products and certain necessities of life that we don't, you know, and some nations are just really excel at certain things. Now, when wars break out, they most oftentimes break out over trade disputes, land disputes, things like that. You have something that I want and you aren't giving it to me, so I am going to go to war against you to get what I want. When two nations, and it doesn't matter if you're two fifth graders on the playground or two nations that are warring against each other, it is physically impossible to end that conflict, stop the killing, stop the destruction, if you don't bring both parties to the table. Now, we know that the Russia-Ukraine war has to do with a land grab, that Russia believes that Ukraine has land that is rightfully theirs and they want it back. But because Russia needs all of these oil stockpiles and stuff to continue blasting the Ukraine, they're looking to their allies for that oil. They have whatever they have that Iran wants and China wants and, you know, all these places want. And in return, Russia gets oil from these nations. Now, I bring up Rachel Maddow because she was whining online the other day that Trump had a very long private phone conversation with President Putin, Vladimir Putin of Russia. Well, first of all, presidents do not have private conversations anywhere at any time. It's not going to happen. It physically cannot happen, and it won't happen. Number two, he has a two-pronged issue with Russia. He is still trying to end the Russia-Ukraine war. And you cannot end a war if you don't bring both sides to the table. We've had this proven to us year after year, decade after decade, when Obama would yell and holler at Israel to stop Iran when Israel is physically incapable of doing that on their own. And then Obama started the same thing. They would only talk to Israel, never Iran, never Palestine, never any of the nations that were going after them, even after 9/11, when we learned that we were just as vulnerable as Israel and other nations to these attacks. And still, they would berate Netanyahu, but they wouldn't talk to the other side. And that is foolish. And the American people have been brainwashed into believing that's the right way to handle conflict. And it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. War is unavoidable when you have uncooperative parties. What Trump is trying to do is he's trying to stop what's going on out there. The problem is that the Middle East has the richest, most abundant oil reserves on earth. And every nation in the world relies on them. Even we rely on the Middle East. Why? Because stupid presidents from Clinton all the way up to Biden insisted that we were going to ass-kiss environmentalists with no science to back up their environmental catastrophic claims, that if we drilled all of the oil, like 300 years worth of more than needed abundant oil under the United States of America, that we can't do that because it's going to hurt the deer mouse or the grasshopper, and so we're just going to get it from other nations. Well, now look where we're at. Those other nations, they're evil. They're bad. They're using our need for their oil. And what Iran wants in return for their oil to sell it to all of the nations that they sell it to is they want complete abject servitude to Sharia law. Their nation is ran and occupied by a religious extremist group, not a political body on behalf of the entire nation. They are a specific religious extremist group. And they hold a lot of oil. So they hold a lot of cards. And one of those cards is Russia. Russia depends on Iran's oil, not just for their own survival, their heating and manufacture and running their cars and so on, but to keep pummeling Ukraine in this Russia-Ukraine war. Now that we have stepped in and those reserves are dwindling, and it's more and more difficult to get that oil from Iran, it's going to be more and more difficult for Putin to continue his war with Ukraine unless he decides that sacrificing heating oil, motor, gasoline for motors, and manufacture in his nation is worth killing his own people, letting his own people suffer to continue pummeling Ukraine, then I guess that's a different issue altogether. But now we are in a very unique position where the things that Putin needs from Iran and the Middle East to continue pummeling Ukraine, it's going to dwindle, it's going to stall. And this is the perfect time for the United States to jump in and say, okay, you're running out of supplies, you're running out of support. Now is the time to come to the table. If you have two fifth graders on the playground and they beat each other up all the time, they hate each other and they fight and fight and fight and fight, you're not just going to take one aside and say, you are 100% responsible for stopping that other person. No, you're not. That's stupid. You're going to bring both children in and you're going to sit both of them down and you're going to give both of them the advice and the order that they need to stop what they're doing. You're going to create a parlay of conflict resolution so that everybody can live happily and in peace. That's how you solve conflicts, by bringing both sides to the table. So, Rachel Maddow, you simpleton. If Trump is spending an hour on the phone with Russia, it's because he is trying to stop the war in Ukraine, and he's trying to work out deals because, Ukraine and Russia and Iran, all these places, he's offered business deals with them. They have things that we need and things that we want, rare earth minerals, technology, oil. They have things that they can provide, that they can barter with or trade with. And when we say we have good trade relations with another country, what that means is that we import their stuff, we export our stuff to them. It's mutually beneficial. Everybody gets what they need. Because that's the whole idea. If you have a family, there's no hunter there, and the wife can sew, she's going to provide that service in order for the hunter to bring her food. It's a barter system. We do that today. When you go to get a job, you are bartering with that employer. I have these skills that you need to run your business successfully and prosperously, and what I ask in return for my skills and knowledge is a paycheck. Simple. You have something that I want or need, and this is what I'm asking in return. But you can't barter that deal. You can't get that job. You can't stop those children on the playground from killing each other if you don't sit everybody down find out where the conflict started, why it's going on, and put an end to it. Find a resolution. And, she didn't mention that about less than a week ago, Trump didn't sit down and have an hour-long conversation on the phone with Xi Jinping. He went and met him. They actually talked for quite a while about the situation in Iran, because China's in a critical situation, because apparently they get enough oil from China gets enough oil from Iran that they're kind of in dire straits right now, or they're heading toward that. And so Trump is reaching out. He's extending that olive branch, and he's saying, hey, this has to happen. You know it has to happen. So let's talk trade. That's why Trump is a very unique president, because unlike all of the other presidents and their political rhetoric and their nonsense and their lies and their corruption, he does what needs to happen. A nation is a business, and it must be run like a business by business-minded people. That's why the warring people, the military, they do military stuff. Why? Because that's their job. That's their specialty. That's what they're trained for. So I get that Rachel Maddow is a simpleton, and I get that she has lived her life under the Obama and Biden regimes where everything was one-sided, where she was lied to, she was brainwashed, and she thinks that she knows what she's talking about when she doesn't. And I really, truly think that the only reason that news outlet keeps her there is because she's so stupid. The absurdity of her gets them ratings. But nonetheless, yeah, of course he is. And I'm not surprised that he is. And I'm surprised he didn't reach out to Russia earlier. Or did Russia reach out to him? That wasn't made clear. Did he pick up the phone? Or did Russia pick up the phone? And Rachel Maddow wouldn't tell you that. Why? Because Rachel Maddow does not have the ear of the president. She does not have inside connections. She does not know what she's talking about. Just like all of these other journalists and reporters, these people that assume they know what they're talking about. Remember, these people do not have any contact or connection with the White House, with the administration, with anything. If they do, they make sure that you know that. Example, Sean Hannity. I have known President Trump for decades. We've been good friends for decades, and I know this about him and I know that about him. Now, he doesn't have the privilege of knowing what's going on in the Oval Office, but he can say, I know enough about this president to know his character and know, how that, the way that he's responding is normal for him. Remember, Trump is a born and bred Native American. He is Native American, native New Yorker. And he is bombastic and obnoxious and brazen, just like Native New Yorkers are. It's not bad. It's just who they are. He's also a real estate tycoon and business mogul. So his brain is focused on making money and making America prosperous. And stopping these wars is prosperous because when he stops these wars and he creates treaties and peace deals between these nations are now open to trading with each other, that barter system there, and they're open and willing to trade with America. And a lot of these nations don't trade with America, or they trade very, very limited to America. So Venezuela was in the oil business with Iran for 25 years. Obama, Biden, they all said that Maduro had to go. He was a bad guy. They knew he was a bad guy. Why? Because he was letting Iran not just ship oil to Venezuela, which is right off the coast of America here, but he allowed them military installations where they had access to everything they needed to send missiles, rockets, bombs, and nukes right to the United States of America. So it was strategic to take out Maduro first because they were cutting off Iran's bartering deals with Venezuela to protect the American people from being nuked. And now that our borders are safe from Iran blowing us up from the shores of Venezuela, now we can work on Iran. I know that a lot of people disapprove of what's happening in Iran, and the people that are disapproving are people that have never lived through a war. They don't understand because they have been decades and decades of brainwashing. Your parents and your grandparents have been brainwashed by the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens. You've been brainwashed by these people to believe that you only talk to your friends, never your enemies, and that you don't resolve anything. You just threaten sanctions that they laugh at and then go to another country to get what they need. Ineffective. You are not used to a government that actually governs, that actually gets the job done. You are so used to talk with no result that you assume that's how governments work, and it's not. Our very first government, the Founding Fathers, they went to war with England to give us everything that we have. Every soldier that lost their lives in the Civil War did so to free Americans of color, to give them their freedom and their dignity. And they laid their lives on the line for that. We went to war with Spain to keep them from taking over our nation. They wanted, what they want, California? Who knows? California is just a disaster. I don't even know why we let them stay. I think we should just take like a big, one of those jigsaws and just cut it off, right at the fault there and just let it float in the ocean. They could be their own place. But what we have learned from 40 years is sanctions don't work with any of our rival nations. Threats don't work with any of our rival nations. And chastising, scolding, and telling our allies that they are 100% responsible for fixing all the problems is also not working. So here comes Trump. He's not a politician. He's not a career politician, so he's not going to whitewash you. He's not doing what you're used to people doing when they're in office. And everybody is freaking out. I don't think they're freaking out about what he's doing. It's the fact that he's actually doing it, because you can't do that. What are you doing? You can't. What are you doing? What are you blowing those people up for? Because everybody's so focused on peace. Everybody has to be peace and love. And you can't achieve peace and love. Sometimes you cannot achieve peace and love without war or the threat of conflict. So we really need to give the administration a chance. Do I like what they're doing? No, because innocent people do get killed in a war. You can't do anything about that. And war cannot be stopped if somebody is threatening you. And thanks to Biden, that 4-year disaster of an administration, they let in sleeper cells from Iran and China and Russia and North Korea and all of our other nations. They let these sleeper cells come in here, these terrorists come in here, set up shop, and now One phone call from Iran, and they're going to start blowing up Americans. And Rachel Maddow will probably be out there screaming, look, Trump did this because he blew up Iran. Now they're mad, and now they're blowing us up, and it's all his fault. No, it's Biden's fault. I want to clear this up before anybody starts going to the airwaves with that. If they start blowing us up, it is 100% Biden's fault because Biden let them in here, into sanctuary cities, and let them thrive and live illegally here under sanctuary policies. It is their fault. Biden's fault that these people are here. So, Rachel Maddow, you are a simpleton. You are an embarrassment to American women everywhere. You are a joke. Now, I may not be nothing. I may be just a, ball and chain job, paycheck, tax-paying, law-abiding American, living in middle America. I don't have professionals to do my hair and makeup every day. And, I have my own struggles. But at least I'm not so fucking brain dead and stupid that I would make an entire episode of my show about Trump talking to Putin. Tucker Carlson talked to Putin for hours. All of our world leaders have picked up the phone and talked to Putin, which tells you how long that regime's been in power. They always do. China, they always do. This is nothing new. He's not a communist sympathizer because he's picking up the phone. With that logic, Rachel, then Obama is a communist sympathizer. Biden is a communist sympathizer. Clinton is a communist sympathizer. Reagan, Bush, they're all communist sympathizers. Why? Because they all picked up the phone at some point and had talks with whoever was running Russia at that time. They've all had chats with Maduro. They've all had chats with China, whoever was running China at the time. North Korea, same thing. This is nothing new. You are creating fantasy. That's all you're doing. You're not relaying the news. Just like I say all the time, this is my opinion. It's how I view the world. It's not, it's really not based in fact. It's based in how I perceive how the world is going today. Am I happy that Iran's getting blown up? Absolutely not. I don't want our soldiers killed. I do not want civilians hurt. But the regime in Iran was hanging civilians by cranes in the main street of their communities to set an example if you took to the streets to protest. They were burning people alive. They were doing horrific atrocities that Amnesty International tries to stop, that peace lovers try to stop. I don't see you going out, Rachel Maddow, and trying to parlay a good trade deal with anybody, or you picking up the phone saying that you're some peace coalition and you're going to try to fix things. I don't see you doing it. That's like complaining, about how somebody cooks, but not getting off your lazy ass and doing it yourself. So yes, Rachel Maddow, you are a simpleton. You are a simpleton for more reasons than there is video time to explain. But I'm not surprised he talked to China and Russia, and I'm glad that he did. That means that he is courageous enough and open-minded enough to reach out to all the parties. He's smart enough to know that you can't stop all of this until every enemy comes to the table to work out a deal and leave as allies. And until next time, do good and be good.